This video is brought to you by Magical Coffee Company. Stay tuned to find out how you can get 10% off your first purchase.
The most exciting, the most important part of our Florida project.
I've been thinking on this idea.
For Disneyland?
Beyond Disneyland. I need to do something truly great for this country.
In fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World.
I've had him draw up plans for a project in Florida.
We call it EPCOT.
We have designed an experimental
Prototype
community
of tomorrow.
EPCOT boasts a low crime rate, a minuscule prison population,
Everybody fan out and find them!
and a miraculous 100% employment rate.
I break my back for $1 a day.
Wow, now that's a city I'd want to live in.
You do, silly goose.
So you can keep complaining about your numbers, or you can join me in changing the world.
You've already changed the world! Hell, you practically own it!
Slide the beast! Slide the beast! Slide the beast!
Everybody stop!
So let's talk about a musical comedy about EPCOT. All right, musical comedy about EPCOT. When you hear that phrase, a few images might pop into your head. Maybe something involving Figment learning to dance, or perhaps a heartfelt ballad sung by the animatronic prime ministers of Canada. And hey, I wouldn't rule those out for future Backstage Kingdom investigations. My theater nerd heart combined with my Disney parks obsession means my list of musicals that should exist is extensive. But the musical we're diving into today, Dis-topia, the EPCOT musical, it's got a bit more of a revolutionary zeal. And crucially, a cryogenically preserved head of Walt Disney. Yep. So, standard Tuesday night theater fare.
In the city of tomorrow today.
Now, before you think this is just about poking fun at the House of Mouse, and trust me, there's room for gentle ribbing.
So let me get this straight. People pay $100 to get in here, just to wait in line half an hour to spend 10 more on a pretzel?
Do you hear that? I just love the way the songbirds sing at this time of year. What was that, you asked? Why, it's just past 1900, of course.
Get out of my sight. And I don't just mean behind me.
There is a genuinely fascinating and honestly inspiring story here. It's about a group of young, ambitious creators who, much like Walt himself with his initial Florida project, looked at a grand, almost impossibly complex idea and said, yeah, we can do that. But with songs. And maybe fewer alligators. And definitely a smaller landmass. This is a story about building a world not with thousands of acres of Floridian swamp, but with a script, music, sheer talent, and a whole lot of student-led ingenuity. It's about the audacity to dream, no matter the scale. Our story of this theatrical EPCOT begins not in a high-tech Imagineering lab, nor with a multi-million-dollar budget, but reportedly with a late-night Wikipedia rabbit hole.
Okay, so Dis-topia started as an idea in, I want to say, 2019?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
It was.
yeah, it's about 2019. I was searching for something to write because I was a screenwriting major at school. I was always looking for more things to write, mostly movies. And I stumbled upon the concept of EPCOT, which I had not heard of before. It just felt surreal, you know? To know that was something that was more than just a concept, but on the table and seemingly going to happen before he died. It just struck me as the perfect setting for something. I didn't know what yet, but it just, the fact that when I first came across the concept, I thought it was very interesting, and I hadn't really delved into the darker side of it yet in my head. It was just something that, for me, represented a connection to... I'm speaking vaguely because it was vague.
And in that historical ambition, a new idea sparked.
And the first little outline I wrote out, and it wasn't even an outline, it was a notes app thing. Walt Disney wasn't even it. The original idea I had for the show was about Roy Disney, who, let's say he lived longer and tried to carry on Walt's idea. And the idea was to kind of focus on how each person has their own spark and how you can't try and carry on someone else's spark. That was kind of the initial theme I was going for, but I didn't find much of a plot in that. And there wasn't much of a hook until we added the head on the table.
It's that one little spark, right? That's all it takes. Walt had his for a utopian city that would reshape society. Matthew found his for a musical comedy that would unpack that utopia. He wasn't alone for this long and arduous new creative venture. Enter Robbie Good, the composer, lyricist, and orchestrator, the musical heart of the entire project.
Robbie and I had been working together on music for a long, long time. We've known each other since middle school.
Yeah, our collaboration now borders on 10 years.
That's a long time.
Actually more.
And so my initial plan was like, okay, I'm going to write some songs for this thing. And I messaged Robbie and I'm like, look, I know you're busy, because he was always busy. But, yeah, I want to make this show for this theater club. And I want your expensive instrument packs, but... And I just said, can you just, like, run this through it? And if I remember correctly, he said something like, there's no way you're writing a musical without me.
I said, you do not just want me for my instrument packs.
And Abigail Torrance, who also contributed music and lyrics, and, from all accounts, wore about several billion different hats in production.
At some point, you just started working on it. I don't remember what happened.
I think it was, you told me you wanted the first song. You wanted to do that big expedition dump. And you're like, can you get this much history in one song? And I went, yeah, sure.
Together, they form the core of what you might call Dis-topia Enterprises, a plucky startup with dreams as big as any World's Fair. Now let's take a moment and put on our historical Imagineering hats and really appreciate the sheer audacity, in the best possible way, of Walt Disney's original EPCOT. The world is grappling with urban decay, with cities that felt like, to Walt, that they were failing their citizens. He'd seen the uncontrolled sprawl around Disneyland in Anaheim, and, being Walt, he thought, there has to be a better way, and I'm going to build it.
Stay here a moment, Roy. I want to talk to you about something.
What's on your mind, Walt?
I've been thinking on this idea.
For Disneyland?
Beyond Disneyland. I need to do something truly great for this country.
You've already done so much.
Sure, fancy being remembered for the invention of a mouse.
The Florida Project, as it was secretly known, was his answer. After acquiring a landmass roughly twice the size of Manhattan, and let's just pause on that for a second, because that's the sheer scale of ambition. EPCOT was to be its beating heart. This wasn't just another theme park extension. This was, in his words, going to be
the most exciting, the most important part of our Florida project. In fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
The heart of everything we'll be doing in Florida. He unveiled this vision in a remarkable 25-minute film in late 1966. Watching it today, it's still captivating. There's Walt, your friendly visionary uncle, walking you through models of a stunning radial city. At the center, a bustling urban core, 50 acres of shops, theaters, and a towering 30-story hotel, all completely enclosed, all climate-controlled. Rain or shine, always a perfect 72 degrees.
You're in the city of tomorrow. Make your dreams come to life today. You can't imagine near your sorrows. Away, away. So don't you think about yesterday.
People movers were to glide silently above, connecting everything, while cars and delivery trucks would be relegated to underground tunnels, keeping the pedestrian king. I mean, can you imagine? No traffic jams in your city center. As a former cast member who has navigated the actual utilidors, I can tell you the idea of hidden infrastructure is legitimately appealing. But this was on a whole other level. He was literally trying to design a nearly perfect urban experience from the ground up. He was talking about urban planning, advanced transportation systems, new materials being constantly tested, a dynamic hub for American history with a 1,000-acre industrial park where companies would showcase their latest innovations. It was meant to be a living blueprint, constantly evolving. It was, and still is, mind-bogglingly ambitious, a true moonshot of civic design. And here, decades later, our Dis-topia team, fueled by talent, passion, and let's be honest, probably a lot less than the budget that old Uncle Walt had, decided to build their own experimental prototype community of theater. They took that grand what-if question, and they ran with it.
I pitched it at the end of May 2021, and they say, great, you guys can do it in October. And so we have five months to write and put this on.
And now here's a word from our sponsor.
Hey there, Mr. Everyman. Is your personal world of motion stuck in neutral this morning? Are you tired of the same old bland ho-hum coffee that couldn't inspire one little spark of imagination? If your morning horizons are looking a bit bleak, then boy oh boy do I have news for you. What you need is a cup of pure, unadulterated enchantment. You need that jovial Java from the Magical Coffee Company. That's right. At the Magical Coffee Company, we believe your daily coffee shouldn't be just a habit, it should be an event. We craft our premium coffee blends inspired by the thrills, the colors, and the sheer joy of the world's most iconic theme parks. It's like experiencing miracles from molecules right in your mug. Try our Sunshine Harvest Blend. It's a light roast so delightful, it's like taking a trip through living with the land, but with a caffeinated kick that promises a great big beautiful tomorrow. Each sip is designed to transport you, to delight you, to make you exclaim, oh boy, that's great coffee! So how do you get your hands on this liquid marvel? It's easier than navigating a stroller through a parade crowd. Just click that little link in the video description below. That will take you straight to magicalcoffeecompany.com. And listen to this. Because you're obviously a person of distinguished taste and a friend of Backstage Kingdom, all new customers get a fantastic 10% off their first order. Just type in the promo code BACKSTAGE10. That's BACKSTAGE10 at checkout. Don't delay. Order today. That's magicalcoffeecompany.com and use the promo code BACKSTAGE10. Magical Coffee Company. Experience the magic in every sip.
Their raw materials weren't thousands of acres of land, but the incredible pool of talent from the Players Society at Chapman University, a group that prides itself on being fully student-run and giving creators full creative control. That last part feels particularly poignant given the subject matter they were tackling. Their funding wasn't from titans of industry like GE or Westinghouse, whom Walt actively courted for EPCOT, but from a Kickstarter. Their pitch, an honest and charming call from, quote, a trio of young people with a deficiency of funds. And they were looking to stage an ambitious project. I mean, you gotta love that moxie, right? It's the theatrical equivalent of let's put on a show in the barn, but the barn is Epcot, and the farmer is, well, it's Walt Disney's very articulate, unfrozen head.
Oh, all right, that's enough timpani, thank you. Hello!
It's an honor, Walt. I'm Kevin Nelson.
A pleasure, Kevin. Robert, shake his hand. Yes, Walt. Little more firmly, Rob. There we go. Oh, I don't need that, just... Oh, okay, fine, give me the straw.
Walt's Epcot, as he described it, was intended to be a place that would never be completed, but will always be introducing and testing and demonstrating new materials and new systems. It was about perpetual motion, constant innovation.
Welcome to your new home in Epcot. If you follow us onto the People Mover, we'll get you right on your way to your rental.
We know you'll be very happy with your living arrangements. They've been outfitted with all the newest experimental technology.
And don't you worry about those going out of date. We're constantly updating the appliances in your home with all of the latest models.
That's right. You might wake up to find a brand new stove in your kitchen that was installed by our crew that you didn't even know you were getting.
All while you were asleep.
And, in a beautifully parallel way, Dis-topia the Musical evolved. It wasn't a static creation. It started as a student workshop, a safe space to test ideas, to see what jokes landed, which songs soared, and how exactly one portrays a revolutionary uprising against a cryogenically preserved icon.
We were not the directors of the original production of this show.
Actually,
Nat, who played Cats in this production, directed the original version of this show.
Hi, I'm Nat. I played Cats. Sorry, is that it? I was like, I'm gonna share a fun fact. Hi, I'm Nat, and I played Cats, who is the leader of the Lost Boys, fighting the power of Epcot. Yeah, the original production, I was the director.
And we music directed it because Rob was busy at school.
Yeah, and I did not go to the same school they did, so I was like across town.
The script was still being finished. Like, quite literally, I don't think the last scene had been written yet, just because Deacon was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
But the whole everything was pretty roughly finished at that point. And then by the time we started orchestrating stuff, I literally started orchestrating the original version of the show at Disney World. Yeah. Because I was taking a trip to Disney World like before my school year started in 2021. At the tail end of COVID when things opened back up again. So I'm literally we would go park hopping during the day and then we'd come back at night and then I would sit down on my laptop and start like orchestrating the show.
You don't remember what resort you were at?
Dude, it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, well, it's a Disney resort now. If I stayed on property, I would know where I was.
Just like, I feel like that being a part of the show from the beginning, hearing the script when it was in its, not its earliest form, but an early form, was so key both to me being able to direct the original production, but then also bringing that with me to this one. Because it's like, I already had an analysis of like Cats as a character and Walt as this amorphous kind of figure in their mind. It's very much like I enjoy directing, I enjoy acting. I think the two go very well hand in hand. And I think that directing the original one very much set me on the path to make Cats what I did.
Then, like any good prototype undergoing rigorous testing, it was refined.
The story and the characters have remained really quite similar the entire time. We haven't had many large shakeups in the
not in terms of the narrative structure. We had scenes and also subtracted scenes. Yeah. Or I guess condensed scenes.
Yeah. Even from that initial production to now, there's been relatively little changes to that script.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been, changes, but nothing big. No characters have been really moved around, or even the scene structure has been pretty much the same. The biggest addition has been the end of Act 1 week. In the initial production, Neverland was a Vera solo number.
And it was a minute long.
And then we planned to do something big, but we ran out of time.
Robbie Good, the composer, took the lead on expanding the score for a larger, even more ambitious production.
I'll show you the aftermath of that.
So we have to show it.
I brought it, so I have to show it. We have the scores, and when I took it to the printing office, they were like, "Hey, we can't bind this. It's too big. Can you split it up?" So I have an Act 1 and I have an Act 2 score. Where is it?
What?
Here's the beginning of Neverland. Like on this page, it's got like all of the instruments up here for the way that it is. So this whole thing is like, I think the score itself totals out to about 556 pages or something.
This wasn't just a casual remount. The February 2024 version also served as Good's master's thesis in composition from UCLA. And get this, they aimed for and achieved a live 25-person orchestra. That is a serious commitment to musical excellence. Walt wanted to showcase the future of American industry, and these talented folks in California wanted to showcase the future of musical comedy. And they did it with a full brass section. Now, to fully grasp the world Dis-topia is playfully and sometimes pointedly deconstructing, we need to look a little bit closer at the societal structure Walt proposed for his EPCOT. He presented it as a perfectly ordered utopia. In that 1966 film, he assured viewers it would be a planned, controlled community, where there would be no slum areas because we won't let them develop. A noble goal, certainly. However, this control extended to the residents themselves. They would live in homes rented at modest rentals.
Here, too, are the community's varied recreational facilities. Its playgrounds for children, its churches, and its schools. Beyond the Greenbelt are EPCOT's neighborhood areas of single-family homes.
But they wouldn't own their land, and critically would have no voting control within the community. Not gonna lie. Not a good look, Walt.
Everything is going to be fine.
Exactly.
Furthermore, there will be no retirees. Everyone must be employed to keep the city vibrant and economically active.
Many work downtown in offices, stores, and shops. But most employees go beyond the city core to their jobs.
EPCOT boasts a low crime rate, a minuscule prison population, and a miraculous 100% employment rate.
Wow, now that's a city I'd want to live in.
You do, silly goose.
That's a work city, and those don't always go down well. Yeah, no wonder he didn't like unions.
My first recommendation to the lot of you is this. Put your own house in order.
It was a vision of harmony, yes, but a harmony achieved through meticulous, centralized, top-down design. For all intents and purposes, EPCOT could have turned into a literal manifestation of a class hierarchy in physical form. Dis-topia the Musical takes this fascinating historical blueprint and asks with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, okay, but what if the head architect was literally just a head, albeit a very well-preserved and articulate one? And maybe perhaps a little bit bitter.
Hi, I'm Mitchell, and I played Walt Disney, the president and CEO and dictator for life of EPCOT in Dis-topia. I mean, I didn't have to worry about what I was doing with my hands, or necessarily what my poise was, because all I had to work with was from the neck up. And I think that, really just like, how does one act when they're just a head on a table? I mean, the table was on wheels, and so was I, had like a little rolling chair underneath. And so, being wheeled around and like having to sort of like rely on either Dylan as Eisenpeck or the rest of the board to sort of, be my body. I mean, it does certainly inform the character. I think it informs sort of the sort of frustration that Walt is grappling with at this point, that, he's brushing up against all of these limitations over his control and over his autonomy.
And what if the residents, despite the perfect landscaping and efficient people movers, started to have, what's that word that always comes into play whenever there's a utopia? Oh, right, opinions.
We struggle to make his fantasies more. Every waking move's policed. Living in the underbelly of the beast.
Well, the musical introduces us to Vera Nelson. She's described as a fresh out of college and self-confessed Disney adult, arriving in the finally built EPCOT, positively buzzing with excitement, ready to live her best, most organized life with her dad.
Hello there, my name's Mia Ruman, and I played Vera Nelson, who is the young and easily malleable Disney adult that is kidnapped by the Lost Boys, but then has a turn of leaf situation.
Vera soon gets herself entangled with a group called the Lost Boys, or as Walt in this show referred to them as
genderless ruffians! Help me!
These Lost Boys are revolutionaries. They are decidedly not on board with Walt's meticulously managed paradise. They see the control, the conformity, and then want to shake things up. They assist with helping bring the protests to life, and they honestly even go steps further by trashing historic attractions. Now this is where the musical really starts to cook, exploring themes of conformity versus rebellion, surveillance, and the very nature of freedom in a world planned to perfection. It's a classic setup for drama, for comedy, and for some truly catchy tunes about civic unrest and the perils of hero worship. And again, we have to remember, this is a show where the antagonist is the unfrozen head of Walt Disney, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't take it any less serious. So on one hand, you have the real-life Walt Disney, a visionary pouring the immense resources of his company, his incredible foresight, and his unwavering personal passion into designing a city he genuinely believed would improve lives and solve critical urban problems. He was looking at the blessing of size, as he put it, in Florida to create a controlled, innovative environment unlike any other on Earth. On the other hand, you have this incredibly talented group of students and young professionals looking at the blessing of a good idea, the support of an artistic community, and the power of the stage. They set out to create their controlled environment, a theatrical world where they could explore these huge ideas, make people laugh, make them think, and maybe even make them hum a revolutionary tune on the way out. The journey to get there? Well, for Walt, it involved incredibly complex land deals, sophisticated corporate presentations to giants of American industry, and even the creation of a unique governmental district. For the Dis-topia crew, it was a bit different. Their journey involved script revisions, late-night songwriting sessions, vocal warm-ups, frantic costume fittings, rehearsals in places that they didn't even really have a space for. And I imagine a fair amount of, hey, can anyone lend us a prop that looks vaguely futuristic and isn't currently being used by another show? The parallels in dedication are incredibly striking. One was a dream for a literal community of tomorrow, a city that would shape the future. The other, a community of theater, coming together to bring a wild, imaginative dream to life on stage. And that, as they say in show business, and probably in urban planning too, is where the magic, and perhaps a little bit of delightful, thought-provoking mayhem truly begins. We've seen the dreamers and their grand designs, and next time, we'll step inside Dis-topia itself, explore its characters, its music, and see how this experimental prototype community of theater holds a mirror up to Walt's original monumental vision. Thank you, everybody, for watching part 1 of my deep dive into this amazing musical. I hope you enjoyed it, and of course, I really, truly hope that you like, subscribe, share, do all of those things, and be sure to follow all of the links below. If you would like to help keep the lights on here at the Backstage Kingdom, please consider becoming a patron over on my Patreon page. It always helps. It's only $2 a month, and plus you'll get early access to episodes before they show up on the YouTube channel, including shorts, the videos behind the scenes, full-length interviews from these videos. In fact, the interview videos that you are seeing here and that you will see on next in the part 2 of this series are all going to be available there as well. Not to mention full shout-outs at the end of every episode. It's only for $2 a month. It will help so much, and it's just going to make everything better. But of course, I don't do it just for that. I do it because I love doing this. So thank you again for just even watching this far. And again, I can't wait for part 2. You're really going to love this. But I've been Mike. You've been you. Have a magical day.